One night, while Tom was in the shower, he got a call from our neighbor. I answered. Hello?
Oh, thank goodness you answered.
What's wrong?
Louise wasn't feeding your baby at all. Every time I went over to check on them, she looked thinner and thinner. I called Child Protective Services, and they confirmed my suspicion. She's now in the hospital being treated for malnutrition. I warned Tom that something was wrong with his mother, but he insisted that I was paranoid.
What? I took the next flight home, leaving Tom completely alone. At the hospital, I found Maddie and talked with a team of doctors. Thankfully, the neighbor reported Louise before Maddie was too far gone with malnutrition. They had her on an IV and was expected to make a full recovery. They asked me what had happened, and I explained that my evil mother-in-law had starved my child. I added that my husband was aware of her misdeeds and gaslighted me when I came to him with concerns. All of the doctors were readily eager to help me and pointed me towards a reputable divorce attorney and a banker who could help me stash away my money from Tom. You know how you have doubts about something or someone and you just ignore them? I had my doubts about marrying my husband, Tom. More specifically, I had doubts about Louise, his mother. Tom and Lucy had a very weird relationship where he would do everything she said. It was like she wasn't just his mother, but his wife too. She picked out his clothes, made his bed every day, and cooked for him breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Mind you, Tom is a full-grown man. Tom was embarrassed of how big of a part his mom played in his life and didn't let me meet her until we had been dating for a year. When she met me, Tom explained to her that we were planning on getting married. She was furious and interrogated me like I was a criminal.
How often will you be cooking for him? My Tom needs 3 home-cooked meals a day, every day.
How
often do you wash the bed sheets in your home? I wash Tom's no less than once a week and fold all his laundry with the utmost love that only a mother can give. You also need to be performing your wifely duties to him whenever he requests in order to keep him healthy and bear me my grandchild, who is to be named after me, of course. That's the only reason why I'm allowing him to marry you.
Allow him to marry me? Excuse me, but Tom is an adult and doesn't need his mommy to tell him what to do all his life. Not only that, but everything you're saying is so backwards and outdated. What you're describing sounds like a terribly sexist and unbalanced marriage that I would never want to be part of. I talked to Tom about the concerns that I had about his mother, and he totally understood. He explained that since his father walked out on them, he and his mother shared a very strong bond. He promised that it wouldn't be an issue in our marriage, and he would be on his best behavior in protecting me from her, as well as explaining that her behavior was unacceptable. I believed that he loved me enough to try to work it out, and agreed to marry him. After our wedding, Louise became a jealous monster. She was jealous and taking the son away from her. She called us every day of our honeymoon and tried to convince Tom that she was deathly ill and needed him to come back to her house immediately. Luckily, Tom was able to see through his mother's lies. The holidays and family get-togethers became very tense around her as her passive aggressiveness towards me grew. Tom had set boundaries with her and explained that she needed to be kind to me as my mother-in-law, but instead this just made her more underhanded in her ways of getting back at me. She would take money from my purse, buy me clothes that were too small and call me fat, siphon gas from my car, hide my shoes whenever we'd visit, or only serve food that I was allergic to. Whenever I told Tom about it, he would ask her and she would deny it.
Mom, did you put hair in Alexandra's food?
Of course not, dear. I was even wearing a hairnet. No one else got any hair in their food. Maybe it was Alexandra's own hair that she found. Her hair seems to be falling out more than mine.
My hair isn't gray.
Are you sure? I see that you have some already. You age quicker than me, don't you?
I tried my best to convince Tom that Louise had it out for me and that she was purposefully making my life harder, but he defended her. He claimed that she had changed since we got married because she saw how important I was to him. He asked that I do my best to get along with her because she was trying so hard to be amicable with me. I agreed, but kept my distance from her. I demanded that holidays were only celebrated at our house, and I made sure that I was never alone in the same room with her. I begged Tom for us to move to a different state. He agreed. That seemed to help for a while. Life was amazing. Without Louise living so close by, Tom only talked to her on the phone. No more random visits or passive-aggressive bullying. After about 4 years of us being married, we had a baby girl. We named her Madeline, after my grandmother. I remembered that Louise had wanted to have a grandchild, and that she demanded the child be named after her. But I refused to name my daughter after a woman who had treated me so horribly. I begged Tom not to tell his mother about our daughter. "What?" he cried. "How could I not tell my mom that she has a grandchild?" Shortly after Maddie was born, Louise had a mysterious illness that made her want to be close to us. I suspected that she was once again lying to Tom, but I couldn't prove it. Tom, deeply concerned for his mother, asked her to move in with us. I was terrified for me and my daughter. Shortly, after she moved back in with us, Tom became more and more busy with work, and that left the three of us alone a lot. She was up to her usual antics of bullying me in ways she couldn't get caught, but now that Tom wasn't around, she would outright scream at me and Madeline. "How dare you not name your child after me?" she yelled. "After all I've done for the two of you over the years, only I know how to take care of Tom." I would take Madeline and hide in the closet, away from the terrible woman. Every night, Tom would come home and find me in the closet, asleep with Maddie on my chest. He thought we were playing a fun game of hide and seek. After months of this abuse from his mother, I gave him an ultimatum. "Either you kick your mother out or I'm divorcing you."
Whoa, whoa, whoa. You know she's sick and needs to be with us so that we can take care of her.
"She's not sick. All she does all day is scream at me."
It's natural for you to have some tension with her. The three of you have been spending a lot of time together, and you might just be needing a break from being cooped up all day. What do you say the two of us take a vacation?
"What about the baby?"
My mother can manage to watch her for a couple of days while we're gone.
I really didn't want to leave my baby alone with her, but Tom has such a convincing way of talking. He also said, since I was so concerned, he would have our neighbor check in on Louise and the baby. I had an absolutely wonderful time on our vacation. We hadn't had a chance to be alone with each other in ages, and I began to remember why I had fallen in love with him in the first place. We went on romantic walks on the beach and had lots of long, late-night talks that we hadn't had since we had been dating. One night, while Tom was in the shower, he got a call from our neighbor. I answered. "Hello?"
Oh, thank goodness you answered.
"What's wrong?"
Louise wasn't feeding your baby at all. Every time I went over to check on them, she looked thinner and thinner. I called Child Protective Services, and they confirmed my suspicion. She's now in the hospital being treated for malnutrition. I warned Tom that something was wrong with his mother, but he insisted that I was paranoid.
"What?" I took the next flight home, leaving Tom completely alone. At the hospital, I found Maddie and talked with a team of doctors. Thankfully, the neighbor reported Louise before Maddie was too far gone with malnutrition. They had her on an IV and was expected to make a full recovery. They asked me what had happened, and I explained that my evil mother-in-law had starved my child. I added that my husband was aware of her misdeeds and gaslighted me when I came to him with concerns. All of the doctors were readily eager to help me and pointed me towards a reputable divorce attorney and a banker who could help me stash away my money from Tom. I looked at my phone and saw that I had 15 voicemails from him. I blocked him for the time being. When I returned to the house, Louise was standing triumphantly at the top of the stairs looking down at me. In a blind rage that only a mother could feel, I lunged at her and pulled her down the stairs. In the tumble, Louise cracked both of her hips. I left her lying on the floor, crying in agony, while I threw out everything in the house that belonged to either her or Tom. A pile of their belongings laid in our driveway as Tom pulled up to the house. Seizing the opportunity, I tossed a match into the pile. Everything in it burned. Tom screamed in horror as his precious belongings burned. I thanked the neighbor for saving my child and explained to him the story of why Louise had put her in danger. He became even more enraged at her pettiness and offered any help I might need in the difficult period I was facing in my life. I asked him to testify against Tom in court. He eagerly obliged. At the divorce proceedings, he told everyone how Tom left his child to his neglectful mother's devices. Not only did I get custody of Maddie, but I won the house and all of the money in our joint banking account. The news played our story on repeat, telling everyone about the man who let his mother starve his child. He was publicly ridiculed and sent death threats daily from strangers. He and Louise decided to move to another state, but the story followed them on social media everywhere they went. After fracturing both of her hips, she really did need help from Tom. Her hips never healed properly, and she lost the ability to walk. She was now bound to her wheelchair and grew weaker every day. She was reliable on Tom to do everything for her, but he had grown resentful of the role she had played in ending his marriage. After about a year of being her caretaker, he abandoned her and left her for dead. All of the death threats and hateful messages got to Tom eventually, and he decided to take his own life. As for me, the neighbor decided that he wanted to take care of my daughter and I. He proved a much more caring and loving man than Tom ever was. We decided to get married, and he adopted Maddie to be his own child. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.